Welcome to the Photopoint Gallery. It's Wine Online Wednesday with the Arts on the Coast annual exhibit. Just as we did in our previous episode, we'll be bringing you 3 additional very creative, very talented artists who are on display here at the gallery. Heather Young, Paul Downs, and the delightful Peggy Aughtry. So without further ado, here they are. I hope you enjoy.
Relations to the word space was just like the open area of the space, her running and having the freedom to run because there is this open area. It's like the space to be able to dream and imagine, because in many ways our lives can be very sort of confining, depending upon what the situation is, and that can limit the space metaphorically that you have to think about the future or think about dreams or imagination. So I work in a lot of different mediums. I'll work with watercolor, I'll work with acrylic, I'll work with water-soluble oils, which is what for a lot of landscape pieces, this piece, that's water-soluble oils. I'll work out usually a design sketch, and on my Instagram feed I tend to show a lot of my sketchbook work. Some of those are simply honing skills, others are working up an idea that maybe hasn't meshed quite yet, or I'm getting the elements together, or it's even close to a finished piece. So I did an initial sketch for this based upon, to get a feel for what the photo was. I'm fascinated with different fine artists I follow that are current, that are no longer with us, that are what are thought of as classical artists. But I also grew up cutting my teeth on things like Heavy Metal Magazine and comics, and illustration, book covers, those fascinate me as well. So with Arts on the Coast, there's a community to it. And because of the inclusive nature of our community for Arts on the Coast, we really support all these different styles. And if you look at the show for Space especially, there's all these different styles and visions and interpretations of the word space. Take a look at the virtual shows we have, take a look at the different styles, the different artists. There's room for whatever you happen to do as an artist. There's room for you to join.
I do love to paint trees. I like to paint living live oak trees. I also like to draw and paint driftwood, which is dead, gnarly, twisted, washed up trees. And this particular piece is on Driftwood Beach, which is Jekyll Island. And I had taken my boys down there for a day in February, and it's like nature's greatest playground. They were climbing trees all day, and we were having such a great time that we decided to stay until sunset. So this painting is called The Space Between Day and Night. And it's really that one little small moment in time where you capture the sun going down. It's the end of day, the beginning of night, and the sky starts to turn purple, and you start to get the reflections on the water, and just really a magical moment down there. I love to paint subtractively. So what that means is I paint on illustration board, a very heavy weight, and I do an underpainting in all acrylics. So the really vibrant colors like the yellow in here, that's all the underpainting. So then what I do is I take a very thin wash of oil paint and I put it over the entire piece. And once it dries, I take some erasers and I come back and erase out the highlights to get down to the underpainting. And I repeat the process time and time again until I get a nice texture. And if you look up close, you can kind of see almost like a grid-like pattern in there. And that's because I'll put one wash on this way, and then I'll come through and put a wash on the next way, and it just kind of makes this nice surface texture on there. Well, I kind of want to document the landscape. This is home to me. I moved around a lot as a child, so when I came back here 21 years ago now almost, I wanted to kind of document, and so many of these coastal barrier islands are constantly changing. So if you go to Driftwood Beach, this piece of driftwood will probably still be there, but the dunes might look a little bit different. You might catch it in a different light. So that's a big part of my inspiration, is wanting to document the ever-changing landscape of the low country. So I also draw a lot of trees. I draw in pen and ink. I also paint in oil wash, 2 very different techniques, but the concept is still the same. It's still rooted in drawing home and documenting that experience.
I actually love space. I like that it's vast. I like that it's big. I like that it's a mystery. And so I took the literal approach. I knew I could use negative space or too much space or not enough space, but I love space. So this is the approach that I wanted to take. A lot of people ask me, you know, how you achieve. It's not pouring at all. That's a whole different thing. This is acrylic paint. And I have all kinds of different things that I use. I fling a brush, I have squeeze bottles, I use my fingers. So I'm basically I have it on the floor because one thing I do not like, there's no drips in my paint at all. I paint it flat and I dry it flat. It's actually very deliberate. It's not as random as it looks like I'm just flinging paint. There's a method to this type of painting, and it's way more difficult than I anticipated. I didn't even realize I had this talent until I was 55 years old. So I want to do everything. And I feel like I don't have as much time, and I can't go back and get any memories from art because I have none. I've taken no classes, not in high school, not in college, nowhere. I've taken nothing with art. So everything inspires me. I want to do portraits. I want to do landscapes. I want to do, you know, abstract. I am an abstract painter. That I know, that I have determined. But I'm so thrilled. I've begged God before in my past, oh God, if I could just do that, if I could just do that. And I'm doing it. And I don't want it to be taken away from me. And I know that's weird, and God doesn't give you something and take it back. But I really want to be loyal and not take it for granted. So I'm very driven to do what I do.